The financial literacy gap heavily impacts the Black and Brown communities. Experts say that the best thing that we can do to close that gap is to continue our education on money topics. My name is Tiana Key. I'm a member here at Maine Baptist. I'm also a wife, a mother, and a realtor. And in my line of work, credit scores equal credit worthiness, which equals access. So, most houses are bought with a mortgage, and most businesses rely on credit to fund them. So, recently we had a credit expert speak on the topic here at Maine, and I'd like to share the following tips. The reason why these tips are important is the first thing that a lender may ask me or that I may ask a potential client is, what's your credit score? Because your credit score is going to open up the type of access, the type of programs, the type of assistance, the type of funding that you will have access to that can ultimately change the size of the home that you get into, the size of your payment, of course, how much interest you'll pay for that particular loan. It can also change the neighborhood that you would end up shopping for your home in. The first thing I want to share with you is check your FICO credit scores manually. I hear a lot about Credit Karma, and Credit Karma is not 100% accurate to what your FICO scores would be. And we have the right to pull our FICO credit scores annually for free. Get the full report. It's probably going to be at least 20 pages. So check your FICO score annually so that you can have a comprehensive understanding of what's on your credit. It might be a little bit confusing at first to look at it, but once you have that in front of you, then you can start asking questions about how to get scores up, why certain things might be on your report, and so on. Credit is interpreted differently depending on what you are trying to access. So, accessing your report with it being free, we want you to identify those problems early on before you're in the position that you want to pull the trigger and get a credit card or purchase a house or purchase a car, and now there's a problem that has been identified. The second tip is we want you to speak with a professional to better understand what they need your scores to be. So, the best thing you can do in my line of work when I'm talking about purchasing a home is we'd want you to speak with a lender first so that we can find out where your scores are and then talk a little bit more about where we would want your scores to be. And typically, in those situations, a professional can tell you exactly what they need you to do or give you some tips on what you can do to help improve your scores. They have all of these different tools, simulators that can give you access without having to pay a credit repair professional or have to spend another 12 months, working on something and not getting the results that you're looking for. So go to the professional, ask to better understand where your credit is now and what your scores need to be so that you can have the access to any particular program. And the next one, which would be the third tip, is to access credit as early as possible. One of the things a congresswoman spoke about out of Massachusetts is being credit invisible. And that is a problem in the Black and Brown communities. Sometimes we just don't have any credit. And being without credit or being credit invisible is just as bad as having a bad credit score. So one of the things you can do to access credit early is, as a parent, as soon as my children turn 16, I'm able to add them to my credit card. They don't have to receive an actual credit card, and they don't actually need to use that credit card at all. But it starts to establish the pattern that I have established with my credit companies, and it's giving them my score so that by the time that they're 18, they have a credit score. I still don't suggest giving the credit card to them, but now they have the credit. So if they do need a car by the age of 19 or 20, that credit that you have helped establish will allow them to get the better rates and the funding that they're looking for. The last thing I'll share with you is now that you have these credit cards, or if you have any existing credit cards right now, you want to keep your balances below 10%. So I'll say at or below 10% of the credit limit. So for example, if you have a credit card with a credit limit of $1,000, we want you to have that balance to be $100 or less. So keeping your score 10% or your credit used on your credit card 10% or below what you have access to on any particular card is always going to boost your credit score more than going above 30%. Okay, so again, one of the things we want you to do this year is to continue learning about a money topic. I started off with credit this time, and next time we'll talk about a different topic that may be important to you. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello, I am Dr. Faith Myung, and I have with me Dr. Amanda Atkins. And we are talking to you today about African American health in Kane County and some of the solutions to help us with our health. So this is a very exciting day. So a couple of things. So we want to just really kind of understand why this conversation is so important to us right now. African American health in Kane County is a serious concern. So we are seeing an increased number of strokes in African Americans in our county. We are seeing a higher incidence. It used to be that we had a lower incidence for breast cancer. Now we have the highest incidence as African Americans in Kane County for breast cancer, also the highest death rate. We have the highest rate for prostate cancer. We're being hospitalized disproportionately for diabetes related illnesses and high blood pressure. So it's a very serious health concern. So thank you so much for being with us today and taking the time, most appreciated. Yeah, we really need to take a look at our health and some of the solutions. So this is the good news. This is things that we can do, that I can do to change the health dynamic. Me personally, one of the issues that my family line struggles with is diabetes. And so for me, changing the way that I eat has completely eradicated pre-diabetes, from me. So this is really this is the truth behind nutrition and chronic disease. So without further ado, I'd really like to talk to you, Dr. Atkins. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your educational background and your experience with chronic disease and things that can help us improve.
Yes, so I am Dr. Amanda Atkins. I am board certified in both internal medicine and lifestyle medicine. And I've been practicing for over 13 years now. So it seems just like yesterday, but 13 years ago. And so I actually got started with lifestyle medicine, just trying to find, like Dr. Faith was saying, options for my patients that were chronically ill. They kept asking me, what else can I do besides take these medications? I'm tired of these medications. I'm tired of these side effects. What else can I do? And actually, it was one of my patients that actually was, on his own health journey that told me about Dr. Joel Fuhrman, who is a big person with lifestyle changes. And I started reading about him and learning about different things that we can do in our lifestyle. Because even if you look at, some of the drug studies, they always say lifestyle changes plus, but nobody focused on the lifestyle changes. And so many of my patients was asking about that. So I wanted to learn it for them. But I also tell people I was very selfish. I wanted to learn it for myself and my family because I want to be healthy and I have a lot of family history of different chronic illnesses also. And I'll tell you more about my story later on.
Wonderful. So this is really, this is important because so many times when we hear that we have high blood pressure or we have high cholesterol or, we have our blood sugar is high and we're in the pre-diabetic range. And if we don't make that correction, it's going to be diabetes. We don't feel as though we can change those things. We think that medication is the only option. So can you talk to us about the impact that nutrition can have on chronic disease?
Oh my goodness, this is what I love to talk about. So, the top 10 causes of death in the U.S., even Dr. Faith was saying in King County how they have higher statistics there, but this is all across the U.S. that they're related to nutrition. So in your lifestyle, so heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease, cancers, all sorts of things can actually be linked to your nutrition and what you actually eat and what you do on a daily basis. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, because it's in my family, no matter what I do, it's just going to happen. And I'm like, no, no, no. Like, that's what I tell people. No, you can actually change it. And there's so many people that actually change what they eat, they're exercising, sleep, stress. I can go through everything in lifestyle medicine. But nutrition is the key. If you do not change that, then you're likely going to go down the same road as your family. So processed meats, number one, we got to cut those out. And I joke a lot with people about bacon. Like, I was, the daughter of a meat delivery truck driver to where, bacon was a staple in our home. But I'm like, that's a non-negotiable. We got to get rid of that because that's really linked to cancer, like heart disease, processed meats.
I'm going to stop you right there because that is, I don't think that people really understand. So when we say processed meat, we're looking at like lunch meat, right? We're looking at deli meat, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at the packaged products that you can buy, that we buy all the time, that we pack in our kids' lunches. And did you just say that there's a link between that, sandwiches that we pack, and cancer?
Yes. So the World Health Organization actually estimated a level 1 carcinogen. So which means we actually know that it's linked to cancer, processed meats. And like I said, for most people, especially African Americans, bacon, like I said, lunch meat. And even though like people like think that turkey, things like that, they're like, oh, we can get that, but it still is can be very harmful to our health. And it just takes, those small little hits over your period of your lifetime. And most time people think, oh, I've been eating like this all my life, and all of a sudden, this happened. It didn't happen all of a sudden. It was those decades of, us eating all these different types of foods that is actually causing us to be chronically ill.
It's really, yeah, we can, yeah, that's such a concern to understand that you can reduce your risk for cancer strictly by, looking at nutrition. So how do people, when you're saying, so you're saying we shouldn't have processed meats. We're saying, what can we eat? Where can we find some enjoyment in food? Help us with that. And how do we make those changes?
Yes. So, I tell people there's a whole other category of food that, we always leave out. And there, we say plants, but what do we mean when we say plants? We mean, fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts, legumes, all sorts of things, that these other things that we don't think about, because all we've been told is like, if there's no meat on the plate, then we haven't eaten, So we need to actually look at it in a different way. And I usually tell people that you want to look more at the opposite. Like usually we said vegetables are a side dish. You want the vegetables to be the main dish and your meat to be the side dish, if you have to have meat at all, which, I'm still on the fence. I try to push people away from meat as much as possible because we know that any amount can definitely kind of trigger some of these illnesses, especially for the African American community, which we already have a high incidence of these different types of illnesses. So make your plate and you look at it, if it's full of leafy green vegetables and, fruit, and then you see some like legumes like lentils or peas and beans, you're probably on the right track. It definitely can be hard at first for some people because they're, like I said, they think, okay, meat has to be there. But just try to slowly add and reduce. So add in, your vegetables in a bigger portion size. And you want to make sure you're eating vegetables at every meal because that usually helps. You get more fiber, phytonutrients and everything there. And then you actually reduce the size of your meat. So you're reducing your fat and your cholesterol. And while we're talking about reducing meat, you may not ask this, but I always like to point it out because people always think, if I don't have any meat, I don't have any protein. right? So we think meat equals protein, and that's not the case. You know, plants have protein. I should have worn my shirt that said that. Plants have protein. We get plenty of protein through different types of vegetables. So our sweet potatoes, you know, lentils, tofu, tempeh, you know, all those things have protein in there. And I always tell people to have an open mind, try something new, because there's all the people that always tell me, oh, well, I don't like vegetables. Have you tasted every single vegetable? Have you cooked it in different ways with different spices and herbs? Of course not. You haven't, because there's 400 different types of like things that we can try in different combinations or more. So I just tell people to be open and to what you want to do, because it is your health. You get one body, and if you don't treat it well, then you will not, your body will in turn turn on you, I say. And this is a big thing that we talk about, also spirituality, that I just wanted to mention. I know I keep talking on and on, but if we look at it spiritually, our body is a temple. And I tell people our body is a temple, we should treat it as such. If you think of it as your home, if you had, you know, the Lord coming to your house, you would try to tidy up. You want to clean up everything that's going on. The same thing you want to do for your body. And it's not a salvation issue, because a lot of people say that, oh, you can eat anything you want, the Bible says, but it's more of how you actually operate, you know, how you treat your temple and everything. So I know that was a long answer to nutrition, but when I started to talk about
it's
that,
wonderful.
it's great.
No, it's wonderful, because I think that I love how you said it, that make the fruits and vegetable the main dish, you know, and make, you know, other things, and meat if it needs to be, you know, the side dish. And that's what I try to tell people. People think that I'm anti-meat. I'm not anti-meat. I am pro fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, so many types of beans, you know, whole wheat pasta, potatoes, sweet potato. I'm for all of that. And the problem is that sometimes we don't focus on that, right? We minimize those important nutrient rich foods that heal us, and that,
Yes.
you know, decrease, you know, our cancers and colon cancers and, you know, diabetes. They decrease the impact of that, and we don't get around to them because we're majoring on processed, you know, fried fast foods, et cetera, et cetera. So that's
Right.
you know, I think that that's really, really important. The other thing is that I know that you do coaching. Please tell me how can I work with you to make these changes?
Yeah, so I started doing health coaching. Even though I'm a physician, I work in the Northern California area, but just to branch out and try to reach more people, because like we know, lifestyle changes definitely has, I think, more of a major impact on than if you just take medications. Like medications is managing chronic illness, actually making lifestyle changes can possibly reverse chronic illnesses. So I'm more on that end of the spectrum. So I actually offer one-on-one private coaching to where people that either are at risk for high blood pressure, diabetes, or have it, to where we can actually work through and actually get through those mindset blocks to where you feel like you cannot make those changes. We really have to dig down deep and figure out why you want to change. Because some people, you know, they tell me, no, I don't want to just give you the medicine. And I'm like, okay, but I hope you don't have a stroke. I know, you know, here we go. But there's a lot of people that are like, okay, what do I need to do? And, you know, I tell them, you don't have to be perfect. Again, I'm plant-based, but if you just put a little meat on the side, I will work with you with that. But we just need to find out what works for you and how we can get these illnesses reversed in your body, and then also end up changing your family tree, because that's what I'm about. Again, like I said, I started out as a meat truck delivery driver daughter, where we ate processed meats all the time, bologna, sausage, hot dogs. That's one of the things, hot dogs. I know we eat a lot of hot dogs. To where I go from that as a teenager to becoming a vegetarian at the age of 16, because I saw my family dying, uncles, aunts, grandmothers. My grandmothers were so important to me. And so this is why I'm out here, you know, speaking now, because they had heart disease. They both had stroke. They both had diabetes. So it was just like so much. And I know that's in my genes, and I don't want that to happen to myself or my daughter. So I'm out here trying to reach more people to where you can actually focus on the change. And it's a 12-week program. I usually have people start out with, we start out with a cleanse where we do plant-based eating, because a lot of people are surprised how good they feel after they get rid of all these processed foods in their bodies, and they're actually just eating whole foods, and they're like, oh my gosh, I sleep better, I have less stress, I'm not as achy in the joints. You know, people see these things in just as little as 5 days. So it's not like you have to do it for years before you actually see a difference. Blood sugars are better controlled in, you know, weeks compared to months, waiting for medications. And I mean, it's just so much. Like I can just go on and on and on. Like it just makes me so excited just to think of, you know, the changes that can be done with lifestyle.
Absolutely. Well, this is exciting. We're gonna put up information so that we know how to get in contact with you, and so I'll be sharing that. And then also we're having a whole food plant-based Lenten project that we're doing, where we're going to be praying. Our fast is not going to be like we're not going to be able to eat. We'll be able to eat as much whole food plant-based nutrition as we possibly want to. So no problem with portions. We're just really going to be focusing on foods that heal, right? And then the second part is we're going to be exercising more. So we're going to have a walking club that meets every Saturday. So we have some great things coming up for our community. We want people to really participate. And then we'll also be sharing information about how people can get directly in contact with you, Dr. Atkins. Thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it. Yes. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.